In the city of Enugu, where the red soil meets green hills and people greet with warmth, two young women lived as sisters named Adaora and Ifeoma. Adaora and Ifeoma had been best friends since childhood. They grew up in the same street, attended the same school, and shared everything like clothes, secrets, laughter, and even tears. So one thing Ifeoma did not want to share was her boyfriend, Chuka. Chuka was a successful businessman in his early 30s. He owned 3 shops in Ogbete Main Market and a beautiful house in Independence Layout. He was tall, dark-skinned, and also smelled of expensive perfume. Every time he came to visit, heads would turn. He drove a black Lexus and carried himself like pride and confidence. He had fallen in love with Ifeoma, not just because of her beauty, but because of her humility. Ifeoma was calm, respectful, and never showed off, even though Chuka spoiled her with gifts. She truly loved him and he made her feel like a queen. But Adaora, she had different thoughts. From the moment Chuka entered their lives, Adaora's heart started beating faster. She pretended to be happy for her friend, but deep inside, she was boiling with envy. Each time Chuka came around, Adaora would wear tight clothes, laugh louder than usual, and try to draw his attention. But Chuka only had eyes for Ifeoma. Adaora started comparing her life with Ifeoma. She did not have a serious boyfriend, and her small boutique businesses was struggling. She lived in a rented room, while Ifeoma talked about moving in with Chuka soon. The more she watched her friends' life blossom, the more bitter she became. One evening, while sipping zobo together, Ifeoma opened her heart to Adaora. "I think Chuka will propose soon," she whispered, smiling shyly. Adaora forced a smile. "That's great news, my sister. You truly deserve him." But in her heart, a dark voice whispered, "It should be you, not her." From that night, Adaora made up her mind. She wanted Chuka, not just because he was handsome, but because he had money, class, and power. Even if she could not have him while Ifeoma was around, then Ifeoma had to go. Adaora knew that if she wanted to win Chuka's heart, she had to remove Ifeoma from the picture. But she could not do it openly. She had to act like a caring friend while secretly planning her downfall. That's how jealousy works. It hides behind smile. She started slowly by planting seeds of doubt in Ifeoma's heart. "Are you sure Chuka is not seeing someone else?" Adaora asked one day, pretending to be concerned. These rich men, they knew how to pretend. "I just don't want you to get hurt." But Ifeoma smiled and shook her head. "Chuka is not like that. He's different. He treats me well." That answer made Adaora's anger increased. Not only did Ifeoma had a good man, but she trusted him blindly. Adaora decided it was time to act. She told Ifeoma she wanted to cook for Chuka as a surprise, just to appreciate him for treating her friend so well. Ifeoma, with her good heart, agreed and even thanked her. Adaora went home that night and planned everything carefully. The next morning, she traveled to a small village outside Enugu to meet a native herbalist. She told the old man she needed something to make someone weak, nothing that would kill. Just something to make the person fall sick for a while. The herbalist, who had seen all kinds of people and stories, looked at her with suspicious eyes but gave her a small powder. Use only a little, he warned. Too much and the person may not wake up. Adaora nodded, paid him and went back to town. The next day she made bitterleaf soup with goat meat and pounded yam, Chuka's favorite meal. She sprinkled the powder into 1 piece of meat and carefully stirred it in. Then she packed the food nicely with juice and took it to Chuka's office. When she got there, she smiled sweetly and said, "Ifeoma sent this for you. She said you have been working too hard and you need some home-cooked food." Chuka was touched. "Wow, that's very thoughtful of her," he said, not knowing the real sender was standing right in front of her. Adaora watched him eat with fake joy. "Do you like it?" she asked. Chuka nodded. "Very delicious." She left the office shortly after pretending she had errands to run, but in truth, she went home to wait. Her heart was beating fast, but not with guilt. She was excited. She thought once she falls sick, Ifeoma will look like a careless girlfriend. He will break up with her. Then I will step in and take my place beside him. But things did not go exactly as planned. About an hour, Chuka started feeling strange. His stomach tightened, his hands began to shake, and sweat broke out on his forehead. He felt dizzy, then collapsed right there in his office. His secretary screamed and rushed to get help. Chuka was taken to the hospital immediately. The doctor fought to save his life after running tests. They confirmed he had been poisoned. That news hit everyone like thunder. Who would want to poison Chuka? When he woke up, weak and confused, the police were already asking questions. Chuka told them the food had come from Ifeoma. She was arrested the same evening. Ifeoma cried and pleaded her innocency. "I did not send that food. My friend Adaora offered to cook for him. She said it was just to help, but Adaora denied everything. She acted shocked, even cried fake tears in front of Ifeoma's family. Why would I do such thing?" she asked with a sad face. "I love them both like siblings." In reality, she was already dreaming of replacing Ifeoma. While Ifeoma sat behind bars, heartbroken and confused, Adaora dressed up and went to the hospital to visit Chuka. She brought food and even helped clean his hospital room. "You need someone who truly cares for you," she said softly, holding his hands. Some people hide their true colors. Chuka, still weak and hurt, did not know what to believe anymore. Little did Adaora know the same trap she set was truly turning against her. Ifeoma was arrested. She cried and begged, swearing she never tried to harm Chuka. But all evidence pointed to her. Adaora pretended to cry too, hugging Ifeoma's mother and saying, "God will fight for her. My friend is innocent." But deep inside, she smiled. While Ifeoma was in custody, Adaora visited Chuka in the hospital. She cooked for him again, brought him fruit, and stayed by his bedside. "Let me take care of you," she whispered. "You have suffered too much." Chuka was weak and his mind was clouded with confusion and pain. He did not know what to believe. He allowed Adaora to stay. Days turned into weeks. Ifeoma remained in custody as the case dragged on. As the days passed, everyone began to accept the story that Ifeoma had poisoned Chuka. After all, the food came from her, and no one had seen the truth behind the scenes. Adaora was even being praised by some of Chuka's relatives and standing by him during his sickness. But not everyone was fooled. Chuka's younger brother, Emeka, had always been very observant. He did not talk much, but he watched people closely, and something about Adora's behavior did not sit well with him. He remembered seeing her on the day Chuka got poisoned. She was at the office, smiling at Much, talking too fast. Something did not feel right. Why was she the one bringing food to Chuka? And if the food was really from Ifeoma, why didn't she bring it herself? Emeka kept all this information to himself, but his heart told him something was off. He decided to investigate. That night, Emeka stayed up late and spoke to the receptionist to Chuka's office. "Did you see who brought the food that day?" he asked. The receptionist replied, "Yes, nah. It was Adaora, Ifeoma's friend. She said Ifeoma sent her." Emeka's eyes narrowed. "You are sure?" "Very sure. She even joked that she cooked it herself." That was all Emeka needed to hear. He went straight to the office building manager and asked for the CCTV footage from the security camera. Together, they watched the recording from the day of the incidents clearly as daylight. They saw Adaora walk into the building with the food packed in her hand. She signed in the desk, smiled at the camera, and went up to Chuka's office. Emeka copied the footage onto a flash drive and rushed to the police station. At first, the police were surprised. The case was already pointing at Ifeoma, but when they saw the video, they called Adaora in for questioning. She came in confidently, thinking it was a routine check, but when they played the video for her, her smile vanished. "Wait, I was just helping Ifeoma to deliver the food," she said, avoiding eye contact. "Did you cook the food?" the officer asked. Adaora was silent. "Did Ifeoma know you were adding anything to the food?" Another officer pressed. Adaora broke down, tears rolling down her cheeks as she whispered, "No, she did not know anything." The truth began to pour out like rain. "Yes, I cooked the food," she confessed. "I added something, but it wasn't meant to kill him. I only wanted him to fall sick, just small sickness, so that he would stop saying Ifeoma. I did not mean to hurt anyone, I swear." The room went silent. Even the officers shook their heads in disbelief. She had nearly destroyed 2 lives just because of jealousy. The police wrote down her full confession, and she was officially charged with attempted murder. The news spread fast, like wildfire. Ifeoma was released immediately. She cried bitterly, not just because she had suffered for a crime she did not commit, but because of the person who did it was someone she trusted with her life, someone she loved like a sister. When Chuka heard the truth, he was speechless. He looked at Adaora, who was now sitting in a police van, her head bowed in shame, and he felt nothing but pity. "I treated her like family," he said. "I thought she was part of our blessings, but she was a snake in a glass." Adaora could not lift her head. The same eyes that once looked at Chuka with desire were now filled with regret and fear. She was going to prison, and she had no one to blame but herself. On the day of Judgment Day, the court was full that morning. People came from different parts of Enugu to witness the case. Some were curious, others were shocked, and many just wanted to see the face of the girl who poisoned her own best friend's boyfriend. Adaora was brought into the courtroom with handcuffs. She looked weak and broken. Her once glowing skin had lost its shine. The bright clothes she used to wear were replaced with a plain gown. Her face, once full of confidence, now carried shame. Ifeoma sat quietly at the back with her parents. She wore a simple wrapper and blouse, her eyes swollen from many nights of crying. Though she had been freed, the betrayal still hurt deeply. She looked at Adaora, and tears filled her eyes, not because of fear, but because she still could not believe that someone she called sister had tried to destroy her life. Chuka sat beside his lawyer, watching the woman who had nearly killed him. He had no anger left, just disappointed. The judge entered and everyone stood. After hours of listening to testimonies, reviewing the CCTV footage, the herbalist confession, and Adaora's own statement, the courtroom fell silent as the judge prepared to speak. He looked straight to Adaora and said, "This is a sad case. A young woman full of potential threw her life away because of envy. Instead of celebrating her friend's happiness, she allowed jealousy to take over her heart. She made a wicked plan and nearly ended a man's life. What is more painful is that she did not just harm strangers. She betrayed the people who trusted her the most." The judge continued, "We live in a society where we must protect one another, not pull each other down. What Adaora did was not just criminal, it was a deep wound to friendship, to love, and to trust." Adaora broke down in tears. She knelt and begged, "My lord, please, I'm sorry. I have learned my lesson. I was foolish. I don't deserve mercy, but please have pity on me." But the judge was firm. "Regret does not change the damage done," he said. "Action have consequences." He banged the gavel and gave his sentence, 10 years in prison for attempted murder. A loud gasp filled the courtroom. Adaora screamed and begged as officers pulled her up. "Please, I did not mean to kill him. I only wanted to scare him. Please forgive me." But it was too late. Her parents, who were sitting quietly in a corner, wept. Their daughter had brought disgrace to the family. As she was led out of the courtroom, she turned to look at Ifeoma, who stood still, her hands shaking. Their eyes met for a brief moment. Adaora tried to speak, maybe to say sorry, but the words got stuck in her throat. She was carried away by the prison warders, her cries fading with each step. Ifeoma turned away. She did not speak. She just held her mother's hand and walked out quietly. Outside, reporters and people gathered, whispering and shaking their hands. That day, the sun was hot, but the air felt heavy. A story of friendship, love, betrayal, and pain had come to an end, but the scars would remain forever.